And I think Trump failed us in a major way when we needed him the most. I think he kind of did what a lot of Democrat presidents would have done at the time. You know, he kind of disappeared, put Fauci up on a pedestal, and like I said, we needed him most at that time, and that's when he failed us. So go ahead.
I think that the history of this is a little bit astroturf. Like, I do agree, yes, Ron DeSantis overall handled COVID very well. Trump had some mistakes and slip-ups and stuff. But it is important to note, there was a period where Ron DeSantis did lock down his state. And it's not to say that, you know, he was the worst on he's probably overall, when you consider everything, right, probably the best governor on the issue of COVID. But, you know, there was a period where he did lock down Florida, as, you know, the rest of everyone was. And I think
who had a choice, Vince? Who had a choice during that time? Like, everybody was wearing masks.
Well,
you know?
okay, yeah,
even the people that didn't want to. It's like,
yeah, no, I get that, but then I would say the same.
Government.
I would say the same thing about Trump, though, because yes, Fauci. Come 2021, it was very easy to dislike the guy because all his failed this and he was just going crazy, all that. But it's important to note, like, at the time that we look back now and say Trump should have fired Fauci, the guy had something around an 80% approval rating, right? The Fauci we see and know now, and yes, many of us were saying this from the start. I was never a fan of the guy, but you have to understand too, you know, it got to the point where it's very easy in hindsight to say, yeah, Fauci should have never been there to begin with. But the truth of the matter is that if Trump had fired Fauci at the time, not to defend, I still think he should have done the right thing, but he would have been in serious political trouble again at the time that we say he should have done it. And I think if Ron DeSantis, for the same reason, I guess I got to lock down a little bit, then I don't necessarily know if DeSantis in that position would also fire Fauci. It's easier for him to campaign in retrospect and say he would have, but I think when we kind of remember back to what it was like then, not how we see it now, that was a pretty tall ask, and not saying he should have done it, but I don't think Ron DeSantis would have done it either, especially considering, not to criticize DeSantis's COVID policy overall, because I think it was very good, but, you know, considering he also tried to play politics and save face a little bit, I don't know if he would have fired Fauci in like summer or spring 2020 either.
I understand what you're saying, but it's more just like where the rubber meets the road type of thing. We have a track record with Trump. We don't necessarily have that presidential track record, but we do have a track record with the DeSantis, with his governing abilities. And I think what he has shown is much more promising. Like I said, when it comes down to it, do you want to be the frog in the pot and just keep letting it get a little bit worse, or do you want to put your foot down? I think DeSantis is more likely to be the actual person to put his foot down if the whole system starts crashing down on all of us, like it so badly did during those ridiculous times, you know. And it will happen again. It will happen again with the government. It will crack down on all of us.
Yeah, I mean, I do see what you're saying. I know this is something, you know, the DeSantis people bring up a lot is the COVID stuff. But I think, like, all things considered, I'm not saying Trump has a significant edge, and there are ways in which DeSantis is better on the kind of that issue of COVID and how he handled it. But, you know, I like I said, I think we also sort of misremember how it was back then. I mean, we seem to forget now, because of everything in 2021, that Donald Trump was being heavily criticized at the time for not wearing masks, saying he doesn't think it's necessary to wear a mask. He's not going to force them. And this was when, you know, Ron DeSantis was allowing, when he was allowing mask mandates all over his states as well. Right. So
Trump brought us warp speed. Vince.
Which okay, YouTube, I'm not YouTube, but what I will say about that is, I mean, you don't think Ron DeSantis as president would have worked on a vaccine either? Of course he would.
No, honestly, I don't. Like, that's what I'm saying. I think he's the guy that's actually going to stick with us and be like, all right, let's stick together right now and put our foot down and say, no, we're not going to continue with this ridiculousness. I think that's a stretch. I think that Ron DeSantis probably would have developed the vaccine too, right? It's like, that's just, I mean, well, let's talk about something else. Because also, I mean, you also have to consider Ron
Ron DeSantis.
Who's more likely to double down against the LGBTQ Transformer Decepticon agenda?
Hold on. Okay, no, I'll talk about that in a second. But
sure.
You know, DeSantis was also touting that, hey, look, we're making vaccination so easy in the state of Florida. And he said stuff like they're saving lives and stuff, which YouTube, of course they were. But, you know, sure. Yes, it is true. I think DeSantis navigated politically that issue much smarter than Trump. He understood much easier. He understood much better. Look, the base does not like this. I'm going to create a wedge with Trump. Absolutely, right? Trump did not handle it politically well. But I think as a matter of like who would have done what, I think DeSantis would have done basically the same thing. And I think if you really break down their actual beliefs or approaches to it, they're pretty identical. They're pretty similar, right? And so, yeah, I'm not happy at all that Trump, you know, approached the issue that way. But
I understand. Yeah. Going back to what I started with, though, you know, like I said, I wish they wouldn't even run against each other, you know, because I'm not this never Trump kind of person by any means. But you know, and like I said, I agree with you on most things, you know, when I'm watching your show as a fan. I'll say this just to kind of close out. I have personally never voted in my life. I am not somebody who's ever showed up on election day or whatever and showed up the ballots. But if there's one person that's going to get me to show up, it'd probably be DeSantis. And Trump didn't do that for me. He's not going to do it for me the second time around based on his track record. I'm much more likely to actually give it a shot because we know what happened the last election. You know, it's like, this is my whole reason for not voting to begin with is I don't think
YouTube. The free and fair election. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I've never actually voted.
You didn't want to vote because it was too transparent and honest, right? Yeah.
I don't have a lot. Yeah, exactly. I have a lot of faith in it. Yeah. So, but if somebody was going to actually get me to show up, it would probably be DeSantis. And yeah, like I said, man, I agree with you on a lot of things, but ultimately, I wish they weren't running against each other.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's fair, man. I think this will be a good clip too. I think this is a good clip. But yeah, thanks for calling in, man. Have a good night.
I'll show up in better. You know, I didn't even have a Zoom or whatever. I didn't install the.
No, it's no problem. You made it in. It's audio too, so you know it's no problem.
I just showed up. I was like, all right, hold up, let me talk. But God bless you, my friend. I really appreciate what you do.
God bless you.
All right, take care, bud.
All right, you too, man. Hey guys, Vince Dao here. Hope you enjoyed that clip from the Vince Dao Show. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new to the channel. And be sure to check out the Vince Dao Show live every weeknight here on this channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It is a great show. Many are saying this. So leave a like, check out our other clips, and be sure to check out the show. Yeah. God bless.